Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's UBNradio.com.
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, love, laugh, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Fay on UBNradio.com.
And welcome. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa. Every Tuesday at naturally high noon out of the Sunset Gower Studios here in Hollywood, California, Universal Broadcasting Network, and every Thursdays on my CNBC News Radio channel, KCAA AM 1050 out of Loma Linda. And you can always go online for both of those. And we are celebrating my 4th year on the air. Woohoo! Today is episode number 160. It has flown by. That's what they say. It flies by when you're having fun. And I do really, really enjoy the show. And thank you to all of my thousands and thousands and thousands of listeners now all over the world. Welcoming my newest listeners out of Bahamas, Scottsdale. And a shout out to the Musical Instrument Museum folks. I was invited to play their $80,000 Steinway, and that was a wonderful experience. And to all of the wonderful people in Sedona, I just got back from my 5th annual Balance Retreat of renewal in the beautiful Mother Nature showing off Red Rocks in Sedona. So shout out to all of the folks at Los Abrigados Resort and Spa, to the Open Grill Restaurant and the Avanti Restaurant. So thank you so much for all of the help. And of course, my beautiful, beautiful woman in the retreat. It was a pleasure working with you and facilitating your renewal. And I couldn't think of a better person to bring on to celebrate this important milestone in my career on the air than my 3rd time bring back by popular demand guest, the actress, the author, and the world traveler, motivational speaker, Ms. The Real Marianne Donwell.
Good friend, too. Thank you, Marissa. I'm happy to be back. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, absolutely. Celebrating this milestone. I get to meet the most fascinating people, and I wouldn't say not a short time, but most of the time I end up liking my guests so much that I have them back.
I think you bring out something in someone, though. You see, I think when you talk to them, you get into the inner soul of them, and then there is a communication. That's very real.
Yeah, and I definitely feel that connection with you. So thank you for coming back. And I know you've been traveling. What have you been doing?
Oh, packing and unpacking and packing. And I'm going to invent paper clothes. Like the handy wipes, a cute little shift, and then just throw it away when you're through with it. I'm tired. I've been doing a lot. I had just finished a pilot. I have a book out, looking about doing another show. I mean, I'm very busy.
Somebody saw you on some game show or something. Did you do a game show? Was that you? Somebody mentioned. So. Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
I love games. Nobody ever asked me.
And for those of you who haven't recognized her already, of course, Dawn is the beautiful Marianne on Gilligan's Island, and there's a 26-year-old at Starbucks who wants your number.
Did you give it to him?
No, I didn't have your permission.
No. Thank you very much.
But he says that to tell you that you have the best legs of anyone on TV, and that your legs span across the ages. So the fact that he's 26, doesn't.
There's not many ages to span. They only start showing their eggs at age 13. He's only had a few years of experience. How very sweet, though. I can't go anywhere in the world. Marianne was loved.
Oh.
She really was.
Yes. So I've been promoting you, which I love doing. And because every time I say I'm having Marianne on my show, people go, oh, I love Marianne. I loved her so much more than Ginger.
And
I mean,
why?
9 out of 10 people.
Why?
Let's talk about it. I don't know why. Why do you think that people like? Oh wait, I'll give you one answer. The co-pilot on my it was U.S. Airways said that it was because you were down to earth, and then the pilot on the other way said that he thought he would break Ginger.
Break her? What does that
Break her, like she's too fragile. So
that's
there's
an
two
interesting
answers.
Interpretation of Ginger.
Mm-hmm. So why do you think?
Because
people
she'd have
liked
been your
you
best
more?
friend. Because she'd been your
Okay.
best friend, and they put me in short shorts. Well, I mean, if she were just in the gingham dress the whole time, I think it started with the 12 and 13, 14-year-old boys when they start realizing that there are girls out there, that she would have been the girl you take into the prom.
Yeah.
And then the little short shorts sort of titillated the 19 and 20-year-olds. It was a very smart thing of Mr. Schwartz, I think.
Did you have a problem with it when they first asked you to put those on?
No, because I was always worried about my weight. I had a problem about what am I going to look like in them. And they weren't Daisy Dukes. It was before Daisy Dukes. But I designed them with the wardrobe department because, speaking of somebody saying I have nice legs, I'm short. You know, I don't have legs as long as Tina's are. And we had to cover my navel. Morality didn't let you show your navel. The censors wouldn't let you. So I put a little curve at the top of my navel. And then I dipped the shorts down on the side, my waistband, so that my torso looked longer, and then I took the end of the shorts, the cuffs of the shorts, and tipped them up on the side so my legs would look longer, and then I used a very soft denim, so we had darts and it fits your body. I think I'm bringing them out next summer. Everybody's wearing shorts now. I mean, I'm serious about it. Now everybody's wearing shorts.
Yes.
But you couldn't even show your navel then.
Right. I remember reading somewhere, it wasn't that long ago, where the camera wasn't allowed in the bathroom. And now look at all that's on the...
Well, and I know, and they're nude, and you've got nude pictures on buses as they go by, and the world has changed. When Marianne was dropped into the island, birth control was not invented. So that's what my book's about. What would she do now? What would Marianne do now? She was a moral compass, I think. So if she were a mom, where would she be?
Where would she be?
Well, I had a big debate about whether would she go back to Kansas? Would she be PTA president maybe? Would she run for mayor maybe? She would marry. Would she have just one child? Would she be a businesswoman? I went through this quite a bit. At one point I thought, let's say, would she be Sarah Palin or Hillary Clinton? I thought, no, let's not get into that. I think she'd be productive at something. I think something that she liked to do. I think she was smart. I think she'd have had a family. Not necessarily necessary, though. I think she was her own person. And I think she shared who she was with other people. And I think that's what's wrong with the world today, a lot of that. It's all me, 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 me.
Right.
She was always trying to help somebody. Mr. Howell would be nice to Mrs. Howell. And she was cheerful. She wasn't jealous of Ginger. There's more depth there than you think. You know, in a silly little show like that there was a lot there, I think.
Right. Well, it was a beloved show. And if you've just tuned in and you're wondering who I'm talking to today, and you're wondering, boy, that voice does sound familiar, it is Dawn Wells, the real Marianne, back from Gilligan's Island. And it's a retired professor and Marianne show today.
Here
Yes,
we are.
I was.
And the rest, I think we called ourselves.
And the rest. That's right. And I have a couple of other questions. My bank manager wanted to know, were pranks... yeah,
Where my money went? Is that what he wants to know?
Okay, yeah.
No residuals? We can talk about that.
She wants to know, were there pranks played on, on set? And if so, which was the best one? How did you guys...
I really don't think there were any pranks. When I stop and think about it, I don't think anybody was... Bob had to work real hard. He'd had all that physical comedy, falling down holes and out of trees and all of that.
Okay.
Bacchus
That's
was...
Gilligan.
That's Gilligan. And the Howells were witty.
Were they really like their character, or were they really acting?
Mrs. Howell was very Mrs. Howell.
Really?
Natalie Schaefer was very much so. And Jim was too. Jim was very much... They're very good casting in this whole show, I thought. I think we were all very much like our roles, with the exception of Bob.
With the exception of
Gilligan.
Why?
Well, Gilligan was very intellectual, quiet, quite private, very subtle sense of humor, not a goofball at all.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he was into no pesticides long before, great with kids. That's why I think there was something inside of him that children identified with. He was very different than his character. The rest of us were pretty much the same, I think.
Interesting. And then were there some easier to work with than others?
I don't think there was any. I never, excuse me, I never saw any temper. I never saw any disagreement with directors or anything. I think
Did you
they
get
were all
along
pretty-
with Ginger?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. We didn't have a whole lot of scenes together, little bits and pieces, but yeah, I didn't see any discord at all. The hours were long, and the physical part that Bob had to do was tough. The scripts were silly, surf on and surf off. And then the guest stars were fun, of course. We had Don Rickles and Zsa Zsa Gabor and Kurt Russell. who was 12 at the time. I was only 12 at the time. Yeah, it was a very odd show, but it's never been off the air since 1964.
Yeah. And people are always amazed, and I feel very smart when I ask them, how long do you think it ran? And people say 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And I go, nope, 3 years.
That's all.
Nobody can believe it.
Nope. And this is our 50th anniversary. We've been on the air 50 years, never been off the air, 30 languages all over the world.
Wow.
Well, there's no cars or clothes or anything that shows you what the date is.
Right.
No 56 Chevy or mini skirts or anything like that. It can be anything. We're all dressed like beach bums,
Right, right.
Except for Ginger, of course. She always looked pretty.
Yeah. Now, people have asked who's still alive.
Just myself and Ginger.
Just yourself and Ginger.
We lost the professor last year about this time.
Were you close to the professor?
Very much so. I adored him. I think if we both had been single, we'd had our own islands.
Well, that was the next question.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not going to talk about it. No, I'm
know.
teasing. No, I think you saw chemistry. And, of course, we were and the rest the first year. In the credits, we were and the rest. Then we became the Professor and Mary Ann the second and third year. So we always laughed and sent each other cards. Love the rest, always. Oh. He had a great sense of humor. He had the best sense of humor on the set of anyone. More than Jim, more than Bacchus. And he was so smart. And he was a hero in World War II. He was shot down in the Solomon Islands as a navigator, broke both his ankles. His co-pilot or whatever was killed. And when I went to the funeral last year, they presented his wife with the flag, but I did not know, and he never mentioned it. He got the Purple Heart.
Oh, wow.
So there was a soul there. Not only that, when his son came down with AIDS, it was the very beginning of the AIDS epidemic.
Oh, wow.
When we went to work, his son taught himself to read and write in Japanese and Korean. He was a very bright kid. And Russell was so proud of him. And the way Russell embraced it and came forward, it was not the time you could do that.
Right.
And I was very proud of him for that.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, who would humble, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah.
Adored his son and lost his son, of course. But David was very smart. I think he set up the whole food situation in Los Angeles. The mayor got with him. But it was more than that. It wasn't embarrassment. It wasn't, I judge my son. It wasn't any of that. He loved him, and he was proud of him. And I think that speaks well of Russell a lot.
Right, right. So I'm feeling like we should talk. I usually don't talk about the headlines. But one of the questions was, how do you stay young? And the other question was, what do you feel like when you see all the pictures of yourself when you were young, when it was 50?
It makes you cry, doesn't it? No.
And this whole idea around aging and youthing, as I like to call it,
That's good.
I'm ageless. But life, this thing called life. I was at the gym, and this woman who wants to die with dignity, she doesn't want to, she has a prognosis 6 months left, and she doesn't want her daughter to watch her die. And normally I don't talk about headlines because it's just CNN, constantly negative news, and my show is about hope and happiness. But I thought, this might be a good time and an important topic to talk about life, because you're such a great example of someone whose legs not only span through the ages, but your attitude and your love of life and your joie de vivre and some of the things you mentioned you've done with your life. The importance of attitude, the importance of how you see life. How do you stay young? What is your view about life?
It has nothing to do with any cosmetics or anything that we're talking about. I think you age with your soul. And I think if your soul is full of life and full of what's tomorrow, I'm blessed every morning to wake up. I'm always finding a chore to do or a problem to solve or something that has to be done. I have a positive attitude. I grumble about a lot of things. I don't mean that. But I'm an optimist. And I've always said from day one I'm going to live to be 100. Now I'm stretching that out. 100's a little too young.
How old are you now?
76.
76. Trombones. No trombones.
I'd like a few trombones, actually.
Do we have trombones? No, just applause. Yeah, you're the youngest by far 76-year-old that I've ever met in my entire life.
Well, I'm young at heart, and I don't, part of it is not having children. I don't have those worries. If you've got a daughter that's married to a husband that's beating her up, or you have a grandchild that's really sick, or a husband that you don't get along with, all that stress and everything takes it out of you. It ages you.
No,
it
I
takes
don't know.
your spirit
I think
away.
if you had children, you'd still look young. I think there's an attitude that transcends.
No, I didn't mean having children, but the negative things draw you down. I'm an optimist. And if you have all the negatives, it's really hard to stay positive all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or take a hold of it and do something about it.
So do you think that people should have the right to say this is the end and I'm done?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I had one of my dearest friends moved from Illinois to Oregon so that she could help herself along. Yeah. Yeah, I think not what's the word? Well, not idly. I mean, it's a huge decision, but if you're in so much pain and there is no hope, but Dawn Wells thinks there's always a little bit of hope.
Right.
I mean, we talked about that final statement, keep me alive.
Mm-hmm.
You never know
you have a resuscitate order.
I do.
Yeah, you're the only person I know that has
I
a
know
resuscitate.
it. I know it. No, but you say, how do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know that? I mean, I have a friend now that is a radiologist and has just done an incredible machine, an incredible opportunity for women with breast cancer. And you will really hear about it, that you will never have to die from breast cancer again. And it's just on the edge, that they can take it and freeze it and breast cancer now.
Right.
And so how do you know? Right. How do you know you're in a coma for 6 months and something's discovered?
And doctors can be wrong.
Of course they can.
Right. I had Chris Work on the show who had stage 3.5, which was it? Colon? It wasn't colon cancer. It was another, but it was a serious cancer. He cured himself on a vegan diet. So his prognosis was 6 months too, and he is alive and well and cancer-free. So
but if you want to give up, and we were talking about, do you want to have that privilege? If you just say, I can't do this anymore, the pain is just so bad, I can't do this anymore, why shouldn't you have the right? I don't know.
Well, let's talk about that. If you believe that suffering is too much, like that's someone saying, I just don't want to suffer anymore. Okay, and I would rather die with my family around me and not degenerate anymore. And my dad went down that path. I lost him 2000. He was 70, younger than you, and had lymphoma. And there was like 8 months between his diagnosis and when he died. And he went through chemotherapy. And, hindsight, woulda, shoulda, coulda, shitty. Sure. I don't know, because he suffered a lot. And so I understand what she's saying, that you don't want to suffer. But on the other hand, it's at the antithesis to the hope, right? There's always hope.
And I don't know that you can make that decision ahead of time. I just lost one of my dear friends. I have a ring on my hand. I've never been with anybody in hospice. My mother went very quickly. She choked to death. So pneumonia, it only lasted a few days. My father, they gave him the wrong dose of something in the hospital. So I really don't know what's going to take me. But Linda had been fighting that lung OCD. Is that what I can't think of the name of it, where you can't breathe for a very long time.
Emphysema?
No.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Anyway, when she was on all kinds of medicine, and it was time, and she went into hospice, and her husband called me and said she'd love to have you there. And I thought, I don't know. How do I say I don't want to lose you, Linda? I love you.
Right.
And at the very, 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 very end, she took a hold of my hand and she said, I'm going. And she said, she lost a son. She said, Ty is there. Ty is waiting with his arms open for me. So is my kitty. I'm so happy. And 5 or 6 minutes later, she was gone. So then how can you say that isn't the thing that you want to do? So
Absolutely. Because that's the other hand. I usually put the moose on the table on this side, and then I go on the other side. So I'm going to go on the other side. Yeah,
I do too.
So, and moose on the table, did I tell you why I
don't
say
know what that means. Well, who's moose and why? Or are you talking about dessert? What are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about this guy.
Oh, that kind of moose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the elephant in the room, right? That's the American. And I was born in Canada, so
it's the moose on the
moose
table.
on the table. I know. I keep forgetting that that's not a common term. I use it as if it's like ducks in a row or something like that.
That's what I get.
Yeah. Okay. So I can't even think of another one right now. I was going to throw it at you, but so when the shift hits the fan.
I think we go to a commercial. Where are we?
Okay. So if we believe that we are finite, right? This is it, right? This is, we're born, not quite sure where we came from, and we die. We know it's never going to be, and everybody knows you're born and you die, right? So if you believe, and religion's a big one, that actually we're just in this holding area until the real enchilada is after you die, that heaven. If that's true, then why do we cry so much when people die if the enchilada is supposed to be after this experience?
Because you're feeling sorry for yourself for losing them, I think. I think all of a sudden a part of whatever that soul that's been with you is gone.
Yeah.
There's a part of you that's gone.
Yeah.
I don't know that you're thinking about them as much as you're thinking about how you're going to miss them.
That it's left. So tragedy and people dying. I know for the last, I'd say 4 or 5 years, I have made peace with that I am an eternal being. I'm a spiritual being having a human incarnation. Dr. Wayne Dyer uses that term. Instead of saying we're human beings having a spiritual experience, we're actually spiritual beings having a human experience.
Very interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
It is interesting.
And that way, it really helps me with the concept of death, because death is just a transition.
Do you think there's another spiritual existence for you?
Absolutely.
So
well, I think
back,
it's unending. Whether you come back or not, it's not the end. That it's a continuum. And I'll tell you why it works for me. And this is part of my life balance coaching process is if I don't believe this, and many people don't believe it, it's like you come in and then if you die too early, not naturally, even if you die of natural causes, it's a loss. And what's worse is if you've had a bad childhood, right? And you come in and you're always behind the 8 ball. You're always like not doing as well as, you're always making up for something bad that happened to you, right? And then if you didn't get all the toys or you got laid off or you lost your house, it's a bad thing. And if you die broke or penniless, it's a bad thing. And so life becomes this, report card. How did you do? And then when you die, if you don't have the toys, or if you don't have money to leave your kids, or if you didn't have the job you wanted, or the career you wanted, or the family you wanted, or someone left you or abandoned you or abused you, you had a bad life. Oh.
Well,
there we go. Thank goodness. Yes. I'm going to have to fix this before Thursday. So on my CNBC channel has FCC. But anyways, so if we are human beings and we can have a spiritual experience, then we might be able to transcend all of these things, the bad things that happen to us. But instead, and I'll test this on you and see if you buy it from me. I'm not making you drink the Kool-Aid, but this is making lemonade. Is it possible to believe or accept that we're eternal beings, okay? And this human experience is a choice that kind of like we're all in line. And we want to come in because in the spiritual realm, there's no taste, touch, sight, sound, anything. So in order to have those wonderful world traveling experiences, we have to be human beings. So we're kind of in line and we want to get on this earth and we want to experience all of this amazing stuff. And if I want to experience power, like let's say I want that to be my number one thing on this planet. So when I come in as a spiritual being, doesn't it make sense that I would come in maybe as a baby into a home with toughness or abuse or abandonment or something that creates the expansion in me,
makes you stronger,
to experience and develop characteristics that make me powerful.
But it could also defeat you.
It could, but it offers that opportunity. So
if you come into this world and everything is fine and wonderful, what opportunity does that give you?
Well, you just sort of unfold a little by little, but pain and those big things that we now, with the alternative view, see as, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that happened, and it's really something you have to overcome. But if I look at it as not something I had to overcome and that I'm below or not as good, but I see it as something that just facilitated an expansion in my experience here on Earth, isn't it more fun?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think once you've tried to roller skate 4 times, you keep skinning your knees. The 5th time, you can run down that sidewalk and do fine.
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
So
yes, I agree with you. Yes.
So when I see life like that, and then when I see the pain and suffering that people like. Yes, loss is painful. And when I lost my dad, it's a painful thing when you lose anyone. You
you love, it's very hard.
It's very hard. But it doesn't have to be life debilitating. So I had a question from a listener who said, I wanted to ask you, how do you mend from a broken heart? How do you recover from, and I'll say, for broken heart from a man who cheated on you, or how do you recover from a life-threatening illness, or how do you recover from a loss of a child? How do you do that?
First of all, you have to. First of all, you have to make up your mind. You have to. And then what's your approach? Is it a obsession with some sport? Is it drugs? Is it finding somebody to love? Is it getting inside yourself and the faith of God and whatever your belief is that's part of the suffering of this lifespan? It's your own mental adjustment, I think. And when talking about what you do, how many of us really know a philosopher? How many of us really think about why we're doing something or what it's doing to me? We're just running through this world as fast as we can, trying to get as much as we can done. But what does it mean? I mean, going back to, I was raised where we had Gandhi, with that peace and peaceful. No, but there's nobody doing that now. You don't have that person to look for, to look to. Well, there's so many more avenues than there were before. Yeah. Maybe it's more complex. It's a pretty big. There's no answer. There's no right answer to this at all. Right.
For me, it's just choice. And actually, Deepak Chopra is Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith is a great teacher and a spiritual avatar. And actually, I think there are more of us now who want to believe that there's something different than just living and getting as many toys as possible.
Oh, I think that's always existed, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, I don't mean always. I don't know the 16th century, but I think too many toys and too many distractions and too many goals of superficial things has derailed us. Where it was a simpler life. You look back at those old Gregory Peck movies where because he went out and had to shoot the deer, whatever that wonderful movie was, and he had to because it was life or death for the family. That's a very simple choice. Now the choices are so magnificent everywhere. How do you keep yourself on track anyway? Do you think we get inside ourselves very often?
Well, we have this connection. Like, I take a breath.
Right away.
Like, are you happy? Like, right now?
Very.
I know. Like, I can tell. Yeah. And am I happy? Do I? Yeah. Yeah. So that's how we get to the center of all the whirling dervish, is we just stop and take a breath and look at each other and remind us of the connection that we have. And that goes with everybody. Like, that's available to everybody.
And I get a lot when I meet someone. I get an awful lot when I do these silly little, not silly, but these Comic-Con shows. No, it means something.
I thought you were talking about that.
No, these silly conversations I'm having with you. No, it's not what I'm saying at all. But I think when you relate to some, even a little 8-year-old fan or somebody that's watched you since he was 12, there's a moment between you, whatever that is. That's life.
Yeah.
Giving of yourself, that's life. We are alive with each other.
Exactly.
Not you shut in a room reading a book all the time. Yeah. Well, that reading the book, you're listening to somebody that's talking to you too. So I can't say that. But it isn't all about, it's the give and take with human spirit, I think.
Right.
And soul.
And that is the secret to happiness.
I think so.
Yeah.
Get out of your own head.
I think so too.
And can I come to your Sedona one time? Can I come with you to one of your Sedona
next
one time? I would like to.
I would love to. Are you kidding me?
I would like to.
Next one, the weekend after. Put it on the calendar, please. The weekend after Mother's Day next year. I always do it the weekend after Mother's Day.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So I would love to have you.
I'd like to do that.
To have you there. And I'm getting the finger. No, I'm getting the signal.
Don't tell the audience that.
Yeah. Well, that's still FCC okay to say finger.
Yeah. Couldn't show my navel.
No, but it is time to thank the sponsors of today's episode, the Retired Professor and Marianne. And thanks so much to all of my listeners and those who do advertise and promote their product, service, and what they're fabulous at. And if you would like my 4th year on the air discount promo rates, please do contact my assistant producer, Jarvis Essex, and he will send you the deck. But we'll be back in 2 and 2. Peace in and peace out.
What if the books you read your children empowered them and built their self-worth? Shine Your Light Books publishes stories for children that encourage love, unity, inner peace, and optimism. Their latest title, Frenzy's Light, is the inspirational tale of a firefly who must decide whether to keep her light hidden or let it shine for everyone to see. Through colorful illustrations and engaging storytelling, Frenzy's Light encourages young readers to be confident in themselves and find their authentic gifts. This beautiful hardcover book is available at www.shineyourlightbooks.com and amazon.com. Visit Shine Your Light Books Facebook page to see how you can win a signed copy of Frenzy's Light. And let's shine the light on our children today.
Are you thirsty for books that will fill your soul with wisdom, joy, and inspiration? Then take a refreshing and nourishing drink at Alice's Quiet Mind Bookstore, located in the heart of the Agape International Spiritual Center in Culver City, which incidentally was recently featured on The Today Show. From aromatic soy candles to best-selling authors like Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith and a whole host of other visionaries, Alice's Quiet Mind Bookstore has everything to soothe your body, spirit, and soul. For more info and directions, visit agapelive.com today.
And welcome back. You are tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. I think my honorable moniker, the Asian Oprah. And today we have a fantastic celebratory guest with me, her third time on my show. Please welcome back Dawn Wells, Marianne from Gilligan's Island.
Thank you for having me.
Where's my applause again? There we go. We want to give her as much applause as possible. So people, I say my show is about hope and happiness. Mm-hmm. No gossip, no scandal, no K words, no Kardashian talk. I said that yesterday in the shuttle bus on the way back from the airport. Guess who was in my shuttle bus? A guy who works for the Kardashians.
They got a hit out on you.
Can you believe it? I'm like, I go, you're kidding me, right? And he goes, no. I said, you're a bodyguard? And he goes, among other things. And I said, well, I couldn't help myself. So I said, and I know I'm breaking my rule about not talking about the K words, but it was just so funny. I said, so do they really like the drama? Do they purposely do that? Or are they tired of having that swirling all around them? And he looks at me and he goes, I am not at liberty to comment on that. So I just thought that was, what are the chances that my show's about no K words, no BJ words lately either, and then he's on my shuttle bus. I thought that was really funny.
Somebody's testing you.
Yes,
it is.
Yes. No, we're not talking about it. So, but I do want to talk about, why is it, from Marianne's perspective, from your book, I'm sure you talked about this in your book, what is it with people's fascination with the worst part of people? Like, what is this fascination with the drama of the negativity of cheating, of lying?
Oh, because it makes you feel better. You don't do that. Oh, look, I'm not so bad. Look what they're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's from the beginning of time almost.
Yeah.
It makes you feel better because you're not quite.
I think it's gotten worse.
I
think it's gotten worse, though.
Do you?
Yeah, with reality shows.
Oh, well, let's not go into that. Is that really real?
No, it's not real.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I was
Do they
on
say I'm
one
going to
last
fight
year.
with you? You and I are going to disagree today, and then we go on camera, or are you really disagreeing? I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know. I want to promote the side of people that it transcends that.
See, I think we're all good inside. Not all, of course. Even when you see somebody that's been abused as a child and has a disability or something, that's still happy to be here.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. With all my life balance coaching clients, I give them chance to vent. You have 2 minutes to vent every day. You have to do release the negative energy.
Sure.
But after that, if they're still wallowing and whining and moaning and complaining, I send them to there's a guy. Called Life Without Limbs, the guy that has no arms and no legs.
Yes.
And he is a motivational speaker, and he's phenomenal.
Yes.
I still need to one day get him on here, but there's so much to be grateful for that, to have a meltdown over, somebody saying something to you that you didn't like is just beyond me.
But not counteracting what you're saying, okay. But if that is going on, you sitting and trying to overcome it. So shout, or I talk to myself all the time. That's the stupidest thing, Dawn. Why did you do that? It's not negative. It's now out of my mind.
Right.
I've
It's a release.
It's a
you
release.
have to release. That's why I said band
Yeah.
partners. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Yes.
Now, people say, are you being negative? No, you're getting it out, but you're not. You're just venting.
Well, it's limiting.
Is what it is.
You're limiting it. I have
Even
a
if
2 and
it's-
2.
Even if it's crying. Even if you're so heartbroken that you cry.
If you're one of my retreat people, and I didn't tell her to say that because I was telling them all weekend, because some of them say I never cry, and when people cry in front of me, it's the biggest compliment because it means the words touch the heart, and tears are the disinfectant that keep your heart soft. I wrote that in my gratitude list this morning.
That's beautiful. And it's as simple
so
as silly as
important.
this sounds. Coming back from this Comic-Con thing, 3 or 4 experiences with a man, let's say 40, or between 35 and 45, that grew up having a crush on Marianne in his teens. By the time he met me, tears were in his eyes and tears were in my eyes. There was no conversation 2 or 3 times. And you know how embarrassing that must be for a man to start to cry who doesn't know you. And he had to turn around and didn't want anybody to see him. But it tells you there's an emotion there.
Yeah.
That's okay to let it go.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
It was so sweet. So sweet. And I was crying too. I mean, it's really sweet.
Isn't that great when you were able to touch people like that?
Wouldn't it be
Just
awesome
through
to be playing a witch all the time? That your only roles were these mean people? People just want to throw tomatoes at you?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's
Don't you think, excuse me for interrupting,
Sure,
but
no,
you
please.
put out such positive energy. You put out a grace and a giving and a loving way of accepting me who I am when you meet me, you personally.
Yes.
And if we all just did a little bit of that with each other, what a different world it would be.
It would be. Instead of seeing someone come down the hall and go, ooh, I want to go that way.
I might say, oh my gosh, that skirt is awful. And I'm not really being critical. I'm a commenter,
Yeah.
but I'm not mean by anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What do you want to do next?
Oh, there's so many things I want to do next. I'd like to do a radio show for one.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like to do a pilot. I've debated teaching a little. I run a family foundation in Reno, which isn't a great deal. I mean, it's a wonderful organization, and I'm able to fund organizations and children and things that need it, which also fills my heart. There's so many things left. I'm not about to quit. I love working. I don't think I could just say, well, I like to paint. I like to oil paint. Used to be a pretty good painter. I haven't had time. Falling in love is good. Too late to have children. If I had the time to spend time in a neonatal unit in a hospital, just play with those babies. I love babies.
You can do that.
I know. I'm just never around.
Okay.
You know, you have to make sure
yeah.
the hospital knows
Right,
you
right,
and all of that stuff.
You can't
I
just
did that
walk in there.
for 15 years with the Children's Miracle Network telethon, and I watched surgery. There was a little baby called Baby Rose. She was born 11 ounces, 12 ounces, something like that. And she was in the hospital for about 8 or 9 months. And we'd go in, and you didn't want to touch her for a while. You couldn't. And then she wanted to hear a voice, and you'd see her start to move. And she was only 12 or 13 inches long. And when she first took the bottle and all of that, I mean, you're all rooting for this. It's like a kitten.
Right.
A little kitten, and you're always, and she went home, and the pediatric surgeon and I were really good friends. And she said, well, Baby Rose is going home today. I said, aren't you excited? She said, no, I'm sending her home with her 14-year-old mother. So then what happens? You know?
You're right.
But being in there and seeing the miracles that happen and the love and seeing the dads come in and the baby doesn't even fit in their hand. They're so little.
Right.
If you take time in your life to enjoy the moments of what you're seeing around you, pets, parents in a nursing home with happy that you've come to see them, all of those things, people that love music, and you can see. As a matter of fact, we were just turning the corner this morning. I was going somewhere, and there was this dude at the corner waiting for the bus to go by, and he's in his jogging outfits, but he's doing his dance, and he's really dancing, whatever he's listening to, and he's there right in the middle of the highway, practically enjoying his music and moving.
That's beautiful. I can just picture it.
I can
now.
see him now. Yeah,
Absolutely. So, your book.
my book,
Yes. What's the name of it?
A Guide to Life. What would Mary Ann do?
A Guide to Life. What would Mary Ann do?
Uh-huh.
So what would Mary Ann say to the woman who is trying to recover from a broken heart? I actually got a Facebook message from someone else who's going through the same thing, who had a relationship for 4 years, and he just announced that he's going. He's gone. So what would you say to them?
Clean the house. Pick the flowers. Get busy doing something. Get off yourself for a while. Your heart's going to hurt. You can't change it. That's the way it is. That's the way it was. And there will be a part of you that will always be in pain. Time will heal a lot of that. Don't run right out and try to find somebody else. Do something else that nurtures your soul. We all have sadness in our life. And when somebody that you love doesn't love you is one of the most painful. The other most painful is losing someone to death and illness that you love. But
Very wise words.
I think you have to keep going. You can't be bitter. It's only going to make you worse.
Right.
Maybe it's going to close your heart to opening somebody else or to finding someone else in a length of time. But if the joy comes back in you, that joy will attract somebody else someday. I mean, I think it's wonderful to live for someone else. They're not all you are.
That's right. I get that expression. I'm looking for someone to complete me, or I want someone to take my breath away, but
only for a minute.
Don't want. What do you want to suffocate?
That's right. There you go.
No,
but you want to
so.
love someone.
Yeah. Well, that loving, the thing that I've learned is thinking that trying to get someone to love me is the way to get love. Understanding that love originates with me.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And that if I can get into that place where not the self-love, selfish, self-centered, that kind of self-love, but if I can look at myself and just, you're pretty okay. I really enjoy being on my own now. Before I was very uncomfortable with that, not comfortable in your own skin, but choosing to believe that the universe is friendly, choosing to believe that life matters, choosing to believe that we each, 7 billion of us, have an important contribution to make on this planet with our unique gifts, talents, and abilities. That knowledge and that purpose really gives me the love that is limitless to share.
No question. No question. And I don't know anything about your background or what things you've had to overcome, but look at that little girl in Salt Lake. That little girl that was held captive for how long was she? With that man in the woods and all of that. What 10 years, 11 years, something like that? Yeah. There's not any anger with her at all coming out of there. Well, there's a faith inside. Yeah. Something. Yeah. And I don't know that you can teach that. Does it happen? Does life absorb itself in you to give you that? Or does your mother sit and tell you as a little kid, you are blessed, you are the prettiest, you are going to make something?
I think we're born with that knowledge.
I do too.
I really do. I really think that our natural state, as one of my teachers, Abraham Hicks, says, we're naturally a cork that bobs on the surface.
Oh,
and
that's good.
And that's our natural state. But the thoughts that we collect, either from teachers or parents or society, that sort of hold us down to the bottom, that if we just remove those thoughts, that we are worthwhile, that we are wrapped in a warm blanket of worthiness, that we are good enough, and all of that BS, the belief systems that say we're not, if we can wake up, and then the cork goes back up to the surface.
So if you're in a family that's nurturing you and you have brothers and sisters that love you and you're still moping around, that's one thing. If you're coming from like those girls that Castro kidnapped for all that length of time, and you're still holding it together, and you still are coming out of it and still functioning. I mean, it proves to these little people over here that are having a good time, there is strength.
Yes.
There is the ability. There is the possibility. You have to go deep down in it. But I think bitterness overcomes you. Yeah. Anger overcomes you. I have a temper and it's over. I don't carry a grudge for a long time. And when you do, it eats away. It eats away.
Yeah.
All the possibilities of you having joy is gone.
Yeah. Negative emotion takes up more volume
Mm-hmm.
than positive emotion. Mm-hmm. So the release is really important. And it's all, for me, it's just a choice. The reason why we connect is because you make that good choice. Not good choice like right, wrong choice. You choose the good. If there's a situation and I'm going to either your advice just now I could choose to stay in bed and eat bonbons and bemoan the fact that I got dumped by a guy who for whatever reason doesn't love me anymore, even though he promised that he would love me forever, even though when we first met that first 6 months he was bringing me flowers, so I have a choice. I can either sit there and feel sorry for myself. Okay. Now, I think it's important to grieve the loss.
I do too.
But then after, I'll give you 2 days. after 2 days, it's a waste of time. Then the muscle becomes, what can I choose to focus on that isn't going to keep me feeling bad? So feeling good, you're a big feeling good junkie, so am I. Yeah. What's going to make me feel good? Is it going to make me feel good to focus on those thoughts? Or is it going to make me feel better to focus on the thoughts of, you know what? There are a lot of people in this world that will love me and that I will love. This is another chapter in my book of romance, and this one's over. Doesn't mean anything. It's just we don't match anymore.
And you've experienced it. You love somebody so much. He didn't measure up in the long run, or that cycle is over. Yeah. But you aren't a person who's never been touched or never loved. If you haven't, then love something else. Yeah. Love an animal. Yeah.
And there's so many people that you could love, and there's so many people that'll love you. This one soulmate business is really a sore, for me, it's a thorn in my side because it makes people feel bad when they don't need to.
Well, I had a broken heart once. I don't mean not for a long period of time, but someone broke my heart to a certain extent. And my focus was, what did I do to begin with? What went wrong when it was so perfect before? And then you look at the span of time and saying, well, wow, this length of time was really special. If that person hadn't been there, those special things never would have happened. Right. And I chose the right person. I mean, nobody's beating me up or abusing me. That's a whole other ballgame. Right. But we do move on. Yeah. And it used to be you married and that was it for the rest of your life. You couldn't get a divorce. Yeah. I come from Nevada. You can get a divorce in 20 minutes. Now, that's a little tricky. He says something wrong and whoops, you're gone. Yeah. So I don't think that's the right thing
So much
either.
for conflict management.
That's right. But it's so much fun talking to you because we used to sit around in college and talk about this or talk like this, I should say. Are people doing it today? Yeah. We don't take time. Yeah. We're too busy doing this and doing it in short little sentences and trying to get it out as fast as we can and go on to something else. That's a good thing because we're doing many other things. Yeah. But a lot of your inner soul is not nurtured. Yeah. You'll never feel that love that this woman is now feeling bad about. Right. You'll never get there even. The meaningfulness exactly is not there. Yeah. And I see we're butting up against the time, and I've almost forgot my librarian has a question for you. The 26-year-old?
No.
Starbucks.
That was Starbucks. My librarian wants to know if you actually shot on an island. And here's the funny thing is I was in the Bahamas, and they said when we went on the banana boat, they pointed out Rose Island and said, and that's where Gilligan's Island was shot.
From the Bahamas.
From the Bahamas. And so I got back to my hotel room and I emailed your manager and said, I just want to check out the facts here. Was that really the island? And so he said no.
Not only that, the Disney cruise, and you go south of Miami, they stopped, and I was on the boat. We were having a board meeting, and I was on the boat, and we got out, and there's this little hut, and you buy little souvenirs, and the woman said, now, this is where Gilligan's Island was shot. I said, really? She said, yes. And she said, the hut was over there. I said, are you sure? And finally I said, shake my hand. Right. We were in the Pacific. The pilot was shot in Kauai. Oh, the boat takes out the pilot, though. We never went there. The pilot that showed it, and the rest was a lagoon that they built and some stock footage, I guess. Okay. The boat that's taking off at the very beginning is taking off from Pearl Harbor. And the pilot was made, if you look at the flag, it was half-mast because it was a Kennedy assassination.
Wow.
So we weren't anywhere near where you're talking about at all. But it's in our mind what the island looks like. That's okay.
Right. That's so okay. Funny. Yeah. I won't correct them. If you're listening, you're one of my new listeners from Bahamas, you didn't hear that.
But you could start your own show on that island and come up with something new. That would be good.
That's true. So where can we find you, find your book, support you?
Guide to Life, What Would Marianne Do? DawnWells.com. I'll autograph it and send it back. Amazon.com. Great. Tell me where you are on Facebook. You know, I'm having the best time with all this technical stuff. It's taken me a hard time. My manager is wonderful helping me through this.
Good for you.
You know, I'm an old lady now, and I don't come into this easily. I'd rather talk, and unfortunately, that's not always the case. But no, it's wonderful how connected you are now.
Yeah, Facebook, Twitter. It's at The Real Marianne. You can find
Facebook
you there.
/ The Real Marianne.
Give her a finger.
I beg your pardon?
Give her a thumbs up.
They're going to censor you again.
It was that finger word again. I just can't stay away from that finger word. No, that's wonderful. What's your advice to all the kids in the world?
Ooh, that's a good one. My manager and I went to Stevens College when I was doing this book and interviewed the girls at a women's college, which I think is a great school. And one of my things I said was, okay, do you think Marianne would make it today? Do you think if you kids were in school, would Marianne make it today? And I dwindled it down to 2 girls. One of them said, not a chance. You got to be strong. You got to be big. You got to be da-da-da. You got to be aggressive. And the other, pardon me, you now lost your license for the 3rd time. and that's what it has to be. And the other little girl said, you know what? I just think there's too many gingers. I went, that's it. It's all about the purse. It's all about all that sort of stuff. Let's get back to a real relationship.
Shorts? No.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
No,
I sound like I'm a boss or a knowledgeable about all these things. I'm just telling you how I feel. That's all.
But it is. You have wisdom.
I sure ought to have a little at this age, maybe. Something sunk in.
You do have wisdom. And I so appreciate you being here.
You are a joy,
again.
an absolute joy to talk to.
You. It is so.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we'll do it again.
We'll do it again.
Yes, we
I'd
will.
like that.
And one more big round of applause. Thank you. Take that in. Take that in. Yeah, you are a beautiful inside and out person.
I think we should have that
Truly.
every morning when we get up.
That clapping? Absolutely. I stay in bed and I feel, I spend a couple minutes just breathing and then I end it with 8 gratitudes, but I get into that place of what feels good. And then I set my intentions for the day. And one of them was to have a blast with you on the air, and we did. And that way I get to choose what kind of day I have.
I start the morning with that myself.
And the
this
cup
is
of
my
coffee.
day. We could all get an alarm clock with applause instead of a bell.
There you go. There you
I'm
go.
going to invent that.
Okay.
Okay.
You didn't hear that.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So we're up at the end where I get to do my balance bar, which is stepping up to all of the great things that I am going to invite you to do, and also my Asian Oprah giveaway. Can I give away one of your books?
Oh, of course you can.
Oh, good. So we get a
How do you
book
do
of
that?
yours. So you'll give it to me, and I will send it out.
Sure.
I'll pay for that. So if you are the first, let's get them to go to your Facebook, give you a finger, a thumbs
Okay,
up.
I'd love that.
And then message me, Marissa Pay, or Dr. Marissa at my public figure page, and tell me that you've done that, and then I will get a book to you from you.
How do you select the person?
The first person that does
the first
it.
person that does
Yes,
it.
So
Okay.
you better
Okay.
go
Better hurry
fast.
up.
Absolutely. And I can't seem to find where I put it. I will say that I am blessed. I'm going to be speaking at for Edison in the fall, as well as the keynote speaker for the Health to Wealth Business Expo. So if you want more information about that, let me know at 4balance.org. And if you are an organization that would like someone to talk about what's right with the world and how to jump off that hamster wheel into balanced living, Dr. Marissa is the one you should contact, and I will be happy to do that. We are on the 21-day fast from complaining. We are about to end our 4th year. June 1st starts round 48. Cannot believe it. So blessed. Round 49, starting the 5th year, we'll see the first app for the 21-day fast from complaining with Dr. Marissa. I'm having a blast designing that right now. So if you'd like to help me and be a partner in that, please go to gofundme.com/HRAX LO, and you can donate $5 to $25, whatever you'd like, and you'll help me spread more peace and less complaining across the planet. And that's it for today's show. Next week, it's another Marvin Gaye kind of episode. It's Sexual Healing with Dr. Marissa, the new Asian Dr. Ruth. So tune in next Tuesday. You can hear a replay of this on Thursday on my CNBC News channel, and keep it tuned to take my advice, get balanced. No, wait. Take my advice. I'm not using it. Almost forgot that. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa Pay. That's P for positive, EI. Remember, it's all about balance. Peace in and peace out.
Learned to cry at an early age. people around me, my heart in a cage. It was a book, don't turn a page. I couldn't see past my rage. I wanted to dance, but I pushed you away. Now I'm on my knees, I'll listen to what you say. And you said, be my partner, dance with me. Just hold on, I will lead. Don't be afraid if you can't see. I promise you joy in the mystery.